AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Welcome to the AI in Action podcast. You're listening to Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus, and today's guest is Robin Rohm, CEO and co-founder of Apheris. Robin, very, very good to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark, and thanks a lot for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about Apheris and the work that you're doing, and maybe before that, give me a little bit of an overview about your background yourself.
Awesome. Happy to do so. So Apheris is a deep tech company with the mission to fundamentally change how organizations collaborate securely and extract value from data. So basically, we have a product that allows different organizations to jointly analyze their data sets. And I'll be telling more throughout the session how that changes how we think about value of data and coupled business models. Quick background on the team. So we have a fairly technical team with world-leading scientists and experts out of the fields of cryptography, data privacy, computational chemistry. 60% of the company has a technical PhD. And myself, I have a diverse background, studied medicine, philosophy, and mathematics. It's my fourth company with different levels of success. So one I crashed after a year, another one was handed over to university, one semi-successful exit, and this one is really successful with world-class investors backing the company. For example, Patrick Pichette, the former CFO of Google, has invested into us. So quite some early success and good signs that we are on a good path.
Tell us a little bit about Apheris and the problems that you're looking to try to solve.
Yeah, so basically, when we look at how data is being analyzed today, we see that companies typically only have access to their own biased data sets. Because ultimately data is so valuable and often regulation prevents companies from sharing data, that means you only, as a data scientist, have the ability to access the data that belongs to your own company. Now, from a data science perspective, it's indispensable that your data is very large and diverse to extract the right insights. And so it would make sense that companies collaborate across organizations, but as mentioned, let's say due to the limitations that I just described, this is not happening. And so what we are doing is we're building a platform that allows companies to jointly analyze the data without ever sharing the data and while protecting the intellectual property and the privacy of the data. And as such, you can think about building data ecosystems across organizations while still being in full control of your own data sets. And as such, you can as well think about new ways to unlock value of your data or your data products.
So it's a fantastic goal to have. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to achieve that mission.
Yes, so right now we have, let's say, this two-sided approach of, on the one hand, being super product focused, meaning we are building a platform that allows you to orchestrate such federated computations. So federated computations is the idea of sending computation requests to the different data owners and computing in their environment securely without retrieving or centralizing the data. So that's the product focused. But what we see is that such technology for federated and privacy preserving computations is as well fundamentally changing how a data scientist interacts with data, because suddenly you're analyzing data that is not directly accessible. And so all your tools and all your workflows that you're used to must be reinvented because the data is not directly accessible. And so that's why we are as well quite focused on certain use cases where we empower data scientists to do R&D and do data science on data that sits with third parties. And so we really get active, work on specific use cases where we help organizations to analyze data of third parties and as well get active in developing the AI approaches that help them to retrieve the right insights. And so this, as such, we see that our use case focus is then feeding into the insights we need for our general product development.
Robin, for people listening in, could you give me a concrete use case where you focus on your product and let us kind of get a feeling of what Apheris is doing, maybe for the novice that's listening into this?
Sure, I'm happy to do so. So let's maybe take a concrete industry, and that's the pharmaceutical industry. So if you look into the world of pharma, you see currently that almost every large pharma company is using AI to boost their drug discovery programs. So basically, there's an in silico drug discovery pipeline. So in silico meaning it's supported by simulations and algorithms. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to find or discover new therapeutics or molecules that help you cure a disease. And so these are quite complex technological problems because the world of molecules is so large, and so there's almost an infinite way of possibilities where you search for the right molecule that has a certain effect on your body. And so you need quite large and diverse data sets to train such models, but such data does not live within one pharma company, but is fragmented throughout multiple different pharma companies and as well third-party companies like biological labs, contract research organizations. And so one concrete use case that we are working on is building a data ecosystem for computational drug discovery. And so that means we are helping pharma companies to get access and train their drug discovery models on data of third parties, such that they generalize better, so generalize to chemical space or to therapeutic areas that they haven't been trained on. And on the other side, we are giving those third parties that sit on valuable data the opportunity to commercialize their data, to monetize it, to enter into new research collaborations that provide value for them. So basically to extract value from their data with use cases outside of their own organizations. And so that is what we call then a data ecosystem. So where different companies come together and build shared value on top of their data sets. That would be one of an example use case.
Robin, that's a really, really good example. Thank you for sharing that. Tell me about some of the challenges that Apheris is facing.
Yes, so I mean, it's an early stage company, so I would say there are multiple, but one of the key challenges is the complexity of both our business and the technology. So the idea of federated computation is quite transformative in the way an organization must think about their data science workflows, because suddenly you're thinking about data that sits outside of your own organization. So that's quite a technical challenge to really educate and empower people to use data that is not directly accessible. But then as well, the complexity when it comes to our own business model. So as we directly build products that empower multiple customers to unlock value from their data, we have to find business models that are valuable for both sides. And that obviously is a complexity when you think about your own business development and your own sales, because you do not just sell to one large company, but to multiples. And then second challenge that I think every high growth company is facing is obviously getting access and finding and retaining the right talent. And we've been fairly successful so far with that, but are now entering a phase where we are again growing 100% or more than 100% year on year. And so there come more and more organizational challenges, and for such complex topics where it's not just operators that you need, but as well people that grasp and adore that complexity, it's quite difficult profiles find that help you advance and grow this company.
Robin, why do you think that the topics that Apheris are addressing are so important?
Yeah, so I would say there's two reasons for that. And number one is the idea of collaboration, and the other one is when we look at regulatory challenges. So I think what this year as well, or the last year has shown, is that there are global complex problems that cannot be solved by one party alone. And so the amount of innovation that we've seen throughout the last year, the technical and scientific innovation has been incredible. And one of the reasons is because people and organizations and institutions heavily collaborated on finding solutions to those global problems. And I think, in a faster and faster world, such pre-competitive and competitive collaboration is getting more and more important. And as data is so valuable, we must find ways to analyze and help companies collaborate on such on their data sets and still finding business models that are valuable to them. And that's why we advocate for building those federated data pools, but nevertheless making sure that ownership stays with the data owners such that they can reinvent their own business models. So that's the idea of collaboration, but as well, I think a second reason why the technologies we develop are so important is due to regulation, and in particular in Europe. That's a big challenge and impediment to many businesses when it comes to data. So obviously GDPR has provided massive challenges to many different companies, and so sharing data and unlocking value from data is not an easy task. And so with our technology, you can really start being compliant both towards regulatory bodies, but as well to internal policies, and nevertheless unlocking the full value of that data. And I think that's really advancing and breaking down innovation barriers. So here, a second reason why regulation needs to be tackled in order to still be highly innovative.
You've been listening to the Alldus podcast in the AI in Action series. Our guest today has been Robin Rohm from Apheris, CEO and co-founder. My name is Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus. Robin, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks so much as well.
For this podcast or any other podcast, please feel free to go into www.alldus.com/podcast and check out a variety of different podcasts within AI in Action and also AI Mentors. If you're interested to find out a little bit more about this series, you can also check out Apple iTunes, where we have a full range of podcast series. Please go over and give us a review of your feedbacks today. Thank you.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.